At exactly midnight on a brisk morning, Marcus Reynolds, a successful black tech entrepreneur and CEO of TechVibe, received an unexpected invitation. Though he was well known in the industry for landing breakthrough multimillion-dollar contracts, Marcus was no stranger to the double-edged nature of media attention. Over the years, he had learned that the press could both celebrate and scrutinize black entrepreneurs in ways that white counterparts rarely experienced. As he read the invitation to appear on The Daybreak Forum, a popular morning talk show dedicated to business trends and social issues, a flicker of cautious optimism mingled with skepticism. The show's producers were eager to discuss the diversity revolution in technology, a hot topic that resonated with many in the business world. Marcus, however, was wary. He remembered too well how past media appearances had sometimes reduced his achievements to mere tokens of federal diversity incentives. Despite his groundbreaking work at TechVibe, he feared that the narrative might twist his success into a simplistic story about government quotas rather than his innovation and hard work. Still, the invitation represented an opportunity, a chance to set the record straight and share his perspective on diversity in business. Marcus thought back to the long hours at the lab, the countless sacrifices made to build his company from the ground up, and how every obstacle had been met with relentless determination. He knew that he could use this platform not only to celebrate his success but also to challenge the stereotypes that so often plagued the media's portrayal of black entrepreneurs. While he prepared for the interview in his modest home office, Marcus reviewed his talking points carefully. His mind, honed by years of navigating a competitive tech industry, was focused on conveying that his achievements were not the result of preferential treatment but of ingenuity, persistence, and hard work. Yet, a part of him couldn't shake a lingering wariness. He had seen too many of his peers reduced to caricatures in the media. In the quiet moments before he left for the studio, Marcus took a deep breath and looked out the window at the bustling city below. The reflection in the glass reminded him of the immense responsibility he bore, not just as a CEO but as a role model. Today, he would challenge the prevailing narrative and assert that true success comes from excellence and innovation, regardless of race. With a firm nod to himself, he gathered his notes and prepared to step into the world of televised debates, determined to rewrite the story of what it meant to be a black entrepreneur in America. Marcus Reynolds left his home with measured determination, stepping out into the crisp morning air. After a brief drive through the city, he arrived at the modern studio complex of The Daybreak Forum. The building's sleek glass facade reflected the early sunlight, promising a day of high-profile discussions and media buzz. Despite his professional poise, Marcus felt a shiver of apprehension as he walked through the corridors, which buzzed with the frenetic energy of production crews and technical staff preparing for the upcoming segment on the Black Tech Boom. Inside the studio, the environment was a stark contrast to the relaxed familiarity of his office. The crew moved briskly through the hallways, their conversations a mix of technical jargon and urgent instructions. Although Marcus was a respected leader in the tech industry, here he felt a palpable distance, a sense that he was an outsider being scrutinized by cameras and critics alike. His heart pounded softly as he was guided to the waiting area, where other guests and crew members milled about in professional but impersonal attire. Marcus settled into a plush chair in the lounge, which was decorated in muted tones of blue and gray. The ambient noise of clattering equipment and hushed conversations only heightened his sense of isolation. He wrapped his hands around a cup of lukewarm coffee, trying to steady his nerves. Every moment brought him closer to the inevitable moment when he would step on stage, under the bright lights and relentless gaze of the media. While waiting, Marcus reviewed his notes on his tablet. He reminded himself of the key messages he wanted to convey, that his success at TechVibe was the product of relentless hard work, creative risk-taking, and a refusal to be pigeonholed by simplistic narratives about diversity. His thoughts wandered to the countless hours he'd spent refining innovative solutions, the trials of starting a company from scratch, and the challenges of competing in an industry where every misstep was magnified. As the clock ticked toward his scheduled appearance, a production assistant approached him. "Mr. Reynolds, we're ready for you. Please follow me," she said briskly, gesturing down a hallway that led to the live studio set. Marcus rose, smoothing the front of his tailored suit. Despite the cold efficiency of the crew, he couldn't help but notice the subtle glances exchanged among them, a mixture of respect and curiosity. In the studio's green room, before being called live, Marcus had a few moments to catch his breath. He looked at himself in a mirror, his eyes steady, his expression composed, and remembered why he was here, not just to promote his business, but to challenge the prevailing assumptions about black success in tech. He recalled stories of colleagues who had been reduced to token figures by the media, and resolved that his own story would be different. Finally, the call came. "We're going live in 3 minutes, Mr. Reynolds." With one final deep breath, he stepped out of the green room and into the bright, scrutinizing lights of the live set. In that moment, amid the controlled chaos of a bustling studio, Marcus carried not only the weight of his company's achievements but also the hopes of countless innovators who believed in the power of excellence to break through stereotypes. On air, the atmosphere shifted from behind-the-scenes tension to the measured cadence of a live television segment. Marcus Reynolds took his seat on the set of The Daybreak Forum with a quiet confidence that belied the undercurrents of challenge he anticipated. The host, a polished journalist named Madeline Cross, greeted him warmly, her smile radiant and professional. The opening moments of the interview were filled with praise. "Mr. Reynolds," she began, "we're thrilled to have you here today. Congratulations on landing that groundbreaking multi-million-dollar contract with Tech5. It's a shining example of the black tech boom that's revolutionizing our industry." Marcus acknowledged the compliment with a modest nod, his tone measured as he expressed gratitude for the opportunity to discuss innovation and diversity. However, as the conversation progressed, the discussion took a sudden and uncomfortable turn. Madeline's questions began to hint that Marcus's remarkable success might have been influenced, if not outright propelled, by federal diversity initiatives, a suggestion that seemed to undermine his hard-earned achievements. "Some critics argue," Madeline said, her tone smooth but loaded with insinuation, "that many black entrepreneurs are beneficiaries of diversity programs. How can you assure our viewers that your success wasn't simply a product of these incentives?" The question struck a nerve. Marcus leaned forward slightly, his eyes narrowing with quiet intensity. "I'd like to clarify," he began, "that the success of Tech5 is not due to any form of preferential treatment. It's the result of years of innovation, risk-taking, and unwavering dedication to excellence. Comparing my journey to that of federal diversity programs is both reductive and inaccurate. I stand alongside visionaries like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos because of my hard work, not because of any government quota." The audience in the studio seemed to shift uncomfortably as the debate took on a sharper edge. Madeline pressed further, her tone now more probing. "But surely, without the support of diversity initiatives, wouldn't it be significantly harder for someone without an Ivy League background to break into this competitive field?" Marcus's response was both calm and incisive. "Diversity initiatives exist to level the playing field, not to guarantee success. I come from humble beginnings, a background far removed from the ivory towers of elite institutions. Yes, I benefited from some support, as many do. But that support is only one part of the equation. The true engine behind my success has been relentless hard work, countless sacrifices, and the drive to overcome every challenge thrown my way." The conversation took on a deeper, more personal tone as Madeline continued to query him about the systemic challenges facing black entrepreneurs in America. "Some might say," she observed, "that despite all your achievements, systemic inequality still casts a long shadow over opportunities in this country. Do you believe that the system is rigged against black business leaders?" Marcus paused for a moment, his expression solemn. "I do believe that systemic inequality exists," he replied slowly, "and it affects every facet of our society, from access to capital and funding to the very expectations placed on us by investors and the media. But acknowledging these challenges does not diminish the validity of our successes. Rather, it should inspire us to work even harder to break down these barriers." Throughout the interview, the set was a battleground of ideas. Madeline's initial praise had given way to a series of pointed, sometimes provocative questions that sought to frame Marcus's achievements in a way that would, in her words, explain away the black tech boom as a byproduct of external incentives. Marcus's responses were unwavering. He countered every insinuation with data, personal anecdotes, and a clear articulation of his vision for the future of technology and diversity. At one point, when the conversation grew particularly tense, Madeline remarked, "Perhaps your frustration is a bit overblown, much like someone escaping a fire only to claim that the blaze is a result of systemic negligence." Marcus's eyes flickered with controlled indignation as he leaned forward. "My frustration is not with success," he said firmly, "but with the persistent narratives that suggest my achievements are anything less than hard-earned. One success story does not negate the broader challenges, and it certainly doesn't diminish the individual effort required to overcome them." As the segment drew to a close, Marcus delivered a powerful closing statement that resonated with the audience. "A mediocre white man might fail upward simply by chance," he stated. "But every black CEO faces a multitude of obstacles, not because of a lack of brilliance, but due to an entrenched system that demands we work twice as hard for half the recognition. Our fight is not just for ourselves, it's for every aspiring entrepreneur who dares to dream of a more equitable future." The studio lights dimmed as the interview wrapped up, leaving an impression of defiant dignity. While some viewers applauded his candor and resilience, others remained skeptical. Nonetheless, Marcus Reynolds had firmly planted his flag. His story was his own, and it would not be reduced to simplistic narratives. In the hours following the broadcast, the clip of Marcus Reynolds' interview spread rapidly across social media platforms and news outlets. What had begun as a scheduled segment on the Daybreak Forum quickly escalated into a national debate about diversity, merit, and systemic inequality in business. The video, capturing his measured responses and impassioned defense of his hard-won success, struck a chord with many viewers. Online, commentators hailed Marcus as a beacon of truth. Tweets and posts praised his ability to counter reductive narratives with facts and personal conviction. Influential bloggers and business leaders shared the clip, sparking a conversation about the real challenges that black entrepreneurs face. Marcus's comparison of his journey to those of industry giants like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos became a rallying cry for many who believed that success should be measured by merit and perseverance rather than by access to preferential programs. However, the debate was not without its detractors. Some critics argued that Marcus's perspective ignored the systemic advantages that diversity initiatives could offer. They posited that, while hard work was essential, the playing field was still uneven for black entrepreneurs in an industry historically dominated by white executives. Heated comments flooded social media, with some users accusing him of being dismissive of the very real challenges that minorities face. The narrative split into two camps: those who celebrated his success as a triumph of individual excellence, and those who argued that his achievements were not solely his own but were also a product of policies designed to foster diversity. Amid the public clamor, traditional media outlets began to dissect the interview line by line. Major newspapers ran op-eds both in support of and in criticism of his remarks. Panels were convened on business news networks to discuss whether the black tech boom was driven more by necessity than by merit. Marcus found himself thrust into the center of a discourse that was both uplifting and contentious. Within the comments section of a popular online business forum, users debated fervently. "Marcus Reynolds is the real deal," one user declared. "He shows us that despite the odds, true innovation comes from grit." Another countered, "Diversity programs are important, they level the playing field. Success isn't just about personal sacrifice, it's about systemic change." The conversation mirrored a broader cultural conflict, a tug-of-war between celebrating individual triumph and acknowledging structural inequities. Marcus's team at Tech Vibe, initially surprised by the viral response, quickly rallied behind him. They organized online discussions and Q&A sessions where he elaborated further on his views. In company meetings, employees expressed pride in his handling of the interview, seeing it as a testament to their own struggles and achievements in the tech world. Yet, not all was celebratory. Some voiced concerns that the backlash might deter other black leaders from speaking openly about their challenges for fear of becoming embroiled in controversy. The network behind the Daybreak Forum experienced a surge in viewership, and ratings soared as viewers tuned in to witness the unfolding debate. political commentators and business analysts began citing Marcus's interview as evidence that the conversation about race and merit in America was far from over. The clip became a touchstone for discussions at conferences and academic panels, with experts dissecting his statements and drawing connections to broader economic and social trends. Despite the polarized reactions, Marcus maintained a measured distance from the online fray. He acknowledged that the conversation was important and that every voice had a right to be heard, but he remained focused on his core mission, to innovate and lead with integrity. In a subsequent interview with a respected business magazine, he stated, "I'm proud of what I have achieved, and I know my success is built on hard work. But I also recognize that our journey towards equality is ongoing. My hope is that my story can inspire change, not division." By the end of the day, as the public debate raged on, Marcus Reynolds realized that his viral moment had transcended a simple television segment. It had sparked a national conversation about what it truly means to succeed in a system that still struggles with inequity, a conversation that, despite its controversies, was essential for progress. In the days following the viral interview, Marcus Reynolds found himself navigating a maelstrom of attention and controversy. While many celebrated his candid defense of merit and hard work, a significant number of detractors emerged. Social media platforms, blogs, and talk shows dissected his every word, often twisting his statements into contentious soundbites. As a result, Marcus began receiving both heartfelt messages of support and vitriolic backlash, including personal attacks and even veiled threats. Late one evening, as he returned home from an exhausting day of meetings and media interviews, Marcus checked his phone to find dozens of notifications. Some were emails from supporters, praising his articulate stance on systemic inequality. Others, however, were hostile messages from anonymous accounts, accusing him of elitism and self-aggrandizement. One particularly scathing tweet read, "When you're a rich black CEO, even your success is suspect. Prove it isn't all diversity handouts." The sting of these comments was undeniable, but Marcus was no stranger to controversy. He had built his company, Tech Vibe, from the ground up, and he knew that true progress often came at a personal cost. Determined to not let the negativity derail his mission, Marcus convened a meeting with his communications team. They worked late into the night, drafting a thoughtful statement that reiterated his core values: hard work, innovation, and integrity. And acknowledged the challenges that still existed for black entrepreneurs in America. "Our journey," he wrote, "is not defined solely by individual effort but also by the systemic barriers we collectively strive to overcome." The statement was posted on the company's social media channels and quickly shared by allies across the business community. In the midst of the public debate, political pundits and industry analysts debated the impact of federal diversity programs on the tech sector. Some argued that such programs leveled the playing field for underrepresented groups, while others insisted that success in technology was earned through sheer determination and ingenuity. Marcus found himself fielding calls for interviews, attending podcasts, and participating in panel discussions where he repeatedly emphasized that his success was not a product of preferential treatment but the result of relentless perseverance. Despite the pressure, he remained composed, his measured responses a testament to the many years he had spent in high-stakes environments. At Tech Vibe headquarters, employees gathered in the break room to discuss the unfolding media storm. There was a palpable mix of pride and concern, pride in seeing their CEO stand up for what he believed in, and concern about the potential fallout from the escalating backlash. Several team members expressed hope that the public discourse might eventually pave the way for more meaningful change in corporate America, one where systemic inequities were addressed head-on. Marcus, overhearing snippets of these conversations, felt a deep sense of responsibility. He understood that his actions and words were not just about personal vindication, but were also part of a broader movement for justice and equal opportunity. In a subsequent interview with a major business magazine, Marcus was asked whether he planned to take legal action against the online trolls or if he would simply ignore the insults. "I'm not here to engage in petty disputes," he said firmly. "My focus is on driving innovation at Tech Vibe and helping to create a business environment where talent is rewarded regardless of race. If my success makes some people uncomfortable, then perhaps it's a sign that the status quo needs to change." His words, while measured, resonated deeply with many who had long felt that the system was skewed against them. As weeks turned into months, the public discourse began to settle into a more constructive conversation about the future of diversity in tech. While Marcus continued to receive occasional negative comments and even some threats, he also noticed an outpouring of support from fellow entrepreneurs, activists, and ordinary citizens. His willingness to speak candidly about both his achievements and the systemic challenges he faced sparked new initiatives within the industry, including mentorship programs and funding opportunities for minority-led startups. Ultimately, the backlash, though painful, served to further galvanize Marcus's resolve. Every insult and hostile message was a reminder of the very real biases that still pervaded the corporate world, and each challenge only reinforced his commitment to his principles. With his signature calm and dignity, Marcus Reynolds transformed a viral controversy into a catalyst for positive change, turning personal adversity into a powerful voice for progress. In the wake of the viral interview and subsequent media frenzy, the conversation about diversity in the tech industry expanded far beyond the confines of a single television segment. Across news networks, social media platforms, and business conferences, Marcus Reynolds' articulate defense of his hard-earned success became a lightning rod for debate. Headlines such as "Merit versus Mandate," "The Real Story Behind the Black Tech Boom," and "Does Federal Diversity Inflate Success?" A Conversation with Marcus Reynolds appeared in national publications, fueling an intense dialogue about the forces shaping American corporate life. Television talk shows invited both supporters and detractors of Marcus to weigh in. Panel discussions featured leading economists, diversity advocates, and tech insiders who dissected every word he had spoken on the Daybreak Forum. One prominent commentator argued that while diversity initiatives helped level the playing field, they did not diminish the necessity of grit and innovation. Another countered that the benefits of such programs were sometimes overstated, suggesting that Marcus's success might have been influenced by factors beyond his control. The debate, complex and multifaceted, underscored the persistent divide between those who saw opportunity in diversity and those who insisted that only hard work mattered. Throughout this period, Marcus remained remarkably focused on his own work at Tech5. Rather than allowing the controversy to distract him, he doubled down on his mission to drive technological innovation. At weekly board meetings and strategy sessions, he discussed plans for new product launches, research collaborations, and community outreach programs. His calm determination in the face of public scrutiny earned him admiration from colleagues and industry peers alike. "We are here to build the future," he often reminded his team, "and that future will not be defined by outdated narratives but by the relentless pursuit of excellence." The national debate also spilled into academic circles. University professors, especially those in business and technology departments, began incorporating Marcus's interview into their curricula as a case study in modern corporate challenges. Students dissected his responses, examining the tension between meritocracy and systemic inequality, and exploring how personal narrative can reshape public discourse. Marcus's words became a touchstone for discussions about how success is measured in a society that still struggles with issues of racial bias. Meanwhile, on social media, hashtags like #TechMerit and #InnovateWithoutBias trended for weeks. Ordinary citizens, entrepreneurs, activists, and students voiced their support and shared personal stories of overcoming adversity. Online communities formed around the idea that success should be built on innovation and hard work rather than on policies that merely tick boxes. Marcus's measured yet passionate statements resonated with those who felt that the narrative around diversity was too often oversimplified. Not all the attention was positive. A significant number of critics accused Marcus of dismissing the value of diversity initiatives, arguing that his perspective was too narrow. Heated debates erupted in comment threads, with some users suggesting that his achievements were somehow inflated by external support. Despite the vitriolic backlash from certain corners, Marcus's steadfast demeanor and refusal to engage in personal attacks only strengthened the respect many had for him. He remained laser-focused on his vision, emphasizing that his success was the result of unwavering perseverance and innovative thinking, not a mere byproduct of federal incentives. As the controversy wore on, political figures and business leaders began to reference Marcus's interview in discussions about corporate reform and the need for fair funding practices. It became clear that the conversation had reached far beyond personal achievement. It had become part of a national dialogue about opportunity, equity, and the future of American enterprise. Marcus's ability to articulate the challenges faced by black entrepreneurs, while also celebrating his own hard-won victories, helped shift the debate from mere rhetoric to substantive policy discussions. By the time the initial storm of media attention began to subside, Marcus Reynolds had inadvertently become a spokesperson for a new era in tech, a time when the struggle for equal opportunity was as much about individual innovation as it was about breaking down systemic barriers. His words, broadcast on live television and echoed across the internet, had sparked a national debate that was set to shape the discourse on diversity in business for years to come. As the viral debate intensified, Marcus Reynolds found himself facing an onslaught of both praise and venomous backlash. While a significant portion of the public lauded his articulate defense of meritocracy, a shadow of hostility emerged from those who felt threatened by his message. Negative comments and even direct threats began to appear on social media, and some critics went as far as to question his integrity, accusing him of ignoring the struggles of minority entrepreneurs. The vitriolic tone of some messages was not just hurtful, it was a stark reminder that deep-seated prejudice still festered in unexpected places. Marcus's inbox was inundated with emails, some offering heartfelt support and others laced with biting insults. In one particularly disturbing message, an anonymous sender wrote, "Your success is proof that you're getting a handout, and you don't deserve your place at the top." Despite the sting of such words, Marcus remained resolute. His years of navigating hostile environments had prepared him for this, and he knew that engaging with every insult would only feed the fire. In response, Marcus's communications team crafted a carefully worded statement that reaffirmed his commitment to excellence, hard work, and a fair playing field for all entrepreneurs. "Our achievements," the statement declared, "are the result of relentless perseverance and innovation. We recognize the importance of diversity initiatives in creating opportunity, but let us not mistake support for entitlement." The statement quickly circulated among his followers, further solidifying his position as a thoughtful, measured leader. At the same time, law enforcement agencies issued warnings regarding the online threats Marcus had received. Though no immediate action was taken, the FBI and local authorities were monitoring the situation closely. Marcus understood that his willingness to speak out on sensitive issues might make him a target, but he refused to let fear dictate his narrative. In public appearances and interviews, he maintained his composure, choosing to focus on the broader implications of his work rather than on the vitriol directed at him personally. During a live-streamed Q&A session hosted by a respected business forum, Marcus addressed the backlash head-on. "Criticism is a part of any public dialogue," he said, his voice calm and authoritative. "But let's be clear, my success is built on years of hard work, and while I appreciate the support of diversity initiatives, it is our perseverance that truly sets us apart." His measured tone resonated with thousands of viewers, many of whom praised his fortitude in the face of adversity. In private moments, Marcus would sometimes reflect on the harshness of the online world, a realm where anonymity could breed cruelty. He took solace in the support of his family, his team at Tech Vibe, and a network of fellow entrepreneurs who shared similar experiences. They often gathered for informal discussions about the challenges of being a black leader in a predominantly white industry, and these conversations became a source of strength and mutual encouragement. While the controversy had certainly cast a long shadow, it also sparked important conversations about systemic inequality and the true meaning of success in the tech industry. Business schools, think tanks, and even political commentators cited Marcus's experience as evidence that the discourse on diversity needed to evolve beyond simplistic narratives. His journey was no longer just his own, it had become a catalyst for broader societal change. Through it all, Marcus continued to champion the ideals he held dear. His focus on innovation, transparency, and equitable opportunity drove Tech Vibe to new heights even as the public debate raged on. In interviews, he stressed that while the online vitriol was painful, it could also serve as a wake-up call, an indication that more work was needed to dismantle the biases that still hampered progress. Ultimately, Marcus Reynolds emerged from this tumultuous period with his vision intact and his resolve hardened. His ability to withstand personal attacks while remaining dedicated to his mission not only earned him respect but also set an example for others facing similar challenges. In that moment, as he reviewed the latest supportive messages on his phone, he knew that his voice, resonant, unwavering, and grounded in truth, was helping to pave the way for a more just and innovative future. In the aftermath of the viral storm and the ensuing national debate, Marcus Reynolds began to see an unexpected opportunity emerge from the chaos. Offers for media specials, panel discussions, and exclusive interviews started pouring in from outlets eager to hear more about his views on diversity, merit, and systemic inequality in tech. Rather than cede control of his story to detractors and opportunists, Marcus resolved to take the narrative into his own hands. He convened a meeting with his public relations team at TechVibe, determined to craft a new media strategy that would allow him to articulate his vision on his own terms. "We have a unique opportunity to redefine the conversation," Marcus told his team. "Let's turn this controversy into a platform for real change, a platform where we can discuss not just the challenges we face but also the concrete steps we're taking to overcome them." Over the next several days, his team worked tirelessly to coordinate a televised special that would feature Marcus discussing his journey, the challenges inherent in breaking barriers, and his vision for a future where success in tech was measured by innovation and perseverance rather than by meeting quotas. The special, titled Beyond the Bias, "The True Story of Innovation," promised an unfiltered look at the obstacles faced by Black entrepreneurs in America and how Marcus, along with his peers, was working to dismantle those barriers. In preparation for the special, Marcus reflected deeply on his own experiences. He recalled the sting of dismissive comments, the pressure to prove his worth time and again, and the long hours spent forging a path in an industry that was often unwelcoming. Each memory was a testament to his resilience, and he knew that sharing these stories could inspire others who had been marginalized or underestimated. When the day of the special finally arrived, Marcus appeared on camera with a calm yet determined presence. The backdrop featured images of TechVibe's innovations, cutting-edge gadgets, sleek office spaces, and dynamic team meetings. As the camera rolled, Marcus spoke candidly about his journey. He recounted the challenges of securing funding, the extra scrutiny he had faced as a Black entrepreneur, and the relentless drive that had propelled him forward despite the odds. "I've learned," Marcus said, his voice steady, "that success is not handed to you on a silver platter. It's earned through perseverance, through a refusal to let others define your limits. And while I am grateful for any support that helps level the playing field, my achievements are mine and are the product of hard work and innovation." He acknowledged the role of diversity programs but emphasized that they were tools, useful, yes, but not the sole reason behind his accomplishments. The special resonated powerfully with viewers. Social media lit up with praise for Marcus's clarity and determination. Many commented that his willingness to speak openly about systemic challenges was both refreshing and necessary. His message transcended the typical narratives of victimhood. Instead, it was a call to action for all who faced similar hurdles, urging them to persist and push for meaningful change. Beyond the immediate public reaction, the special had a tangible impact on the broader discourse. Business conferences invited Marcus to speak about the real challenges of diversity in tech, while academic institutions sought his insights on bridging the gap between opportunity and achievement. Marcus's decision to reclaim the narrative from his detractors not only bolstered his reputation but also contributed to a wider movement for equity in the tech world. By the end of the televised special, it was clear that Marcus Reynolds had not only survived the controversy, he had transformed it into a powerful opportunity to inspire change. His viral moment was just the beginning, a stepping stone toward a future where his voice would continue to be a beacon for those fighting against systemic inequality. In the weeks following the televised special, the national debate surrounding Marcus Reynolds' story began to settle into a more reflective tone. While his message had inspired countless supporters, there remained a lingering undercurrent of backlash from those who clung to outdated stereotypes. Negative commentary still surfaced on social media, and a few critics attempted to diminish his achievements by attributing his success solely to the support of diversity initiatives. Despite the occasional hostile tweet or scathing comment, Marcus remained steadfast. He continued to receive letters of support from fellow entrepreneurs, community leaders, and even strangers who appreciated his honest and direct approach to addressing systemic inequality. At a local business roundtable, one attendee remarked, "Marcus isn't just a tech CEO, he's a pioneer who's challenging the status quo." Such words reinforced his belief that his experiences had sparked a meaningful conversation about what true success looked like. In quieter moments, Marcus reflected on the emotional toll of the public scrutiny. He recalled the sleepless nights and the weight of constant judgment, and he wondered if the national conversation would eventually shift toward a more constructive dialogue. Yet, as he pored over supportive messages on his phone, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. Every criticism, every negative comment, was a reminder of the deep-seated biases that still needed to be addressed. While some detractors argued that his stance was overly aggressive or dismissive of the value of diversity programs, Marcus saw these challenges as part of a broader struggle, a fight for recognition and fairness in an industry where hard work was too often overshadowed by prejudice. The fallout from his viral interview had forced a much-needed reckoning among policymakers, investors, and corporate leaders alike. For many, his candid discussions illuminated a reality that had been conveniently ignored for too long. As the media cycle moved on to new stories, Marcus focused on his work at Tech Vibe. He spearheaded initiatives to provide mentorship and funding to minority-led startups, ensuring that his own experience served as a blueprint for overcoming adversity. These efforts were not just about business success, they were about creating a legacy that would help level the playing field for future generations. In personal interviews and written op-eds, Marcus emphasized that while the backlash had been painful, it had also been instrumental in galvanizing support for systemic change. Every story of success, he wrote in one influential piece, must be understood in the context of the struggles that paved the way. My journey is proof that excellence can thrive even in an environment marred by bias, but it also shows how much work remains to be done. Through it all, Marcus Reynolds's resolve only grew stronger. The fallout, both the praise and the criticism, underscored the urgency of his mission, to dismantle barriers and build a more equitable future. And as he continued to navigate the complex landscape of public opinion and business innovation, he carried with him the understanding that real change often comes at a steep price, but one that he was willing to pay. By 2203, after a flurry of media inquiries and industry offers, Marcus Reynolds reached a decisive moment. The national debate had evolved, and with it, the opportunity to shape his public persona on his own terms. Offers for exclusive media specials, in-depth interviews, and panel discussions poured in from across the country. Instead of retreating from the spotlight, Marcus decided to seize control of the narrative. After careful consideration, he agreed to host a televised special titled, "Innovating Beyond Bias." In this program, Marcus would share his journey, discuss the challenges Black entrepreneurs face, and outline concrete steps for fostering genuine inclusion in the tech sector. His decision was not made lightly, it was a calculated move to redefine the conversation and present a vision that was as inspirational as it was pragmatic. In the weeks leading up to the special, Marcus worked closely with his communications team to craft a message that was authentic and forward-looking. He emphasized that his success at Tech Vibe was the culmination of relentless hard work, resilience, and innovative thinking, not simply the product of federal diversity incentives. He detailed the obstacles he had overcome and spoke passionately about the need for systemic reform in the corporate world. When the day of the special arrived, the response was overwhelming. Viewers tuned in by the millions, drawn by Marcus's unfiltered honesty and his unwavering commitment to truth. During the broadcast, he discussed everything from the pitfalls of tokenism to the importance of mentoring young minority entrepreneurs. His final message resonated deeply. We must build a future where every talented mind is given the chance to shine, without the burden of prejudice or doubt. The special not only cemented Marcus's reputation as a thought leader but also sparked a broader dialogue about innovation and equity in America's tech industry. Industry experts, policymakers, and everyday citizens weighed in, and soon, Marcus found himself at the helm of a movement that was larger than any one person. In the aftermath, his social media accounts and press coverage buzzed with renewed energy. Supporters celebrated his courage, while critics, though still present, were increasingly outnumbered by those who recognized the power of his vision. Marcus's decision to take control of the narrative marked the beginning of a new chapter, not just for himself, but for the entire community of entrepreneurs fighting for fairness in a system that had long been skewed by bias. As he reflected on his journey, Marcus felt a profound sense of accomplishment and responsibility. His viral moment, which had once threatened to define him in narrow, negative terms, had transformed into a platform for meaningful change. In that moment, Marcus Reynolds knew that the struggle for equity in the tech world was far from over, but he was ready to lead the charge, one innovation at a time.